Hi, welcome to another Lawn Fawn video. I'm Kara and today we're diving in, creating a Swish and Pop pull tab birthday card with giant birthday messages, mermaid for you flip-flop, and you are sublime, the largest stitched rectangle from large slimline with sliders, slimline stitched hillside borders, and not shown are the slimline hillside stencils. Using one sheet of the Watercolor Wishes Rainbow 12 by 12 pack, the Swish and Pop pull tab in white, cardstock, acetate, and two brads. I cut the Watercolor Wishes paper into sections. So here's the top piece, and it's used as the background. And now I'm using the Swish and Pop hole guide to cut out the holes and help with the placement of the pull tab. I want to cover those holes though with a front section of waves, and so I made sure to cut those out of the same rectangle so I have the stitching, and I did that for 3 waves. And I stacked them in the order that they come on the paper. So the back piece is the top of the 12 by 12 paper, all the way to the bottom is the front piece. I'm prepping the layers with an anti-static pad and using clear ink to stamp out the giant birthday messages saying the one that has what I think look kind of like splash marks or can look like splash marks on them. And so that was my inspiration for today's card, using some white embossing powder and sprinkling that on each of the waves and heating that with my heat tool to melt it, and together they're all going to form that sentiment. Now, the final one I felt like needed to be stamped again, so I kept it in the same position in the MISTI and restamped that and was able to get a nice clean impression without all the layers. The second part of the sentiment comes from the Mermaid for You flip-flop, and it says make a splash, and I'm using that little exclamation point, and the easiest way to put that on is after the fact when it's on the door of the MISTI. So I just popped that in there and inked it up with the clear ink and white heat embossed this one as well. Well, now to play with the Swish and Pop pull tab, I'm joining the two pieces together with a brad and then putting a brad in the second hole of the acetate, and that one is going to go into one of the holes on my panel, and I just have to decide which hole I want it in, but I'll wait on that. First, I thought it would be nice to add some more variation of colors to my waves, and so I'm ink blending with Distress Oxides. This one is Mermaid Lagoon. Now, the variation in the 12 by 12 paper was enough, but I wanted the sentiment to stand out more. And so I wanted to darken around that. And this is a way to do it. Also gave me my opportunity to use my Slimline Hillside stencils. And so we have got some soft waves going here. Not there are other waves too, and wave stencils by Lawn Fawn, but these are going to be just some flowing waves, not rough waters today. All right, using the opposite side of that stencil to cover up what I had already ink blended. And this is Blueprint Sketch coming along and making a darker section behind that front wave, which was Salty Ocean Distress Oxide, blending them together so there's not so much of a contrast there or a sharp line. And then with that same Blueprint Sketch, I'm coming in to give some depth to the bottom of the waves. Some peacock feathers in the front, and then Chip Sapphire. This is regular distress ink just because I don't have the oxide in the back. I spritz it with water, give it a little splashy look, wipe it off my heat embossing, and then with a little spritz of water in some of the Distress Oxide, I'm splashing on, I think this one is Salty Ocean, and that's Peacock Feathers, and a variation of the two. I'm using a stiff bristled brush to splatter those different waves and give them some more interest, I guess. And then putting them all together, I decided I needed one more wave up at the top. And so I took that stencil again and Chip Sapphire and blended on another wave. So this is the top of the ocean. So we're not looking under the sea, we're looking at the top of the sea, I guess, with these waves today. And you could do the same thing and make an ocean floor, and there you've got an under the sea look, but we're going to go on top of the waves today. With all that spritzing, splattering, and blending, I reinforced the front panel with white cardstock. And now I put in the pull tab, and I'm going to take that lever and push it all the way in, determine where I want to cut out the notch on that front panel using this guide, put that through my die cut machine. Now there are quite a few layers on this front panel, so I'm just gonna rip it out on the back. Not a big deal, you won't see that. But yeah, I think I had like 4 pieces going through, so I thought that was pretty good that it got that far. And place everything where I know that it's all the way pushed in and cut that lever flush with the card. I kept the inside of that notch, and I'm going to use that for the little indicator of where to pull. I'll die cut that using the little pull handle piece, and I die cut that in white as well so that I have the full handle to wrap around the lever. I didn't have great success wiping off the Distress Oxide from the embossed words, so I used a colorless blender. This is a Copic Zero to take off that ink from there, and I'm just wiping it off on a little piece of paper to the side so it didn't hurt my nib. So now it's time to stamp out my images, and I'm choosing little sea creatures that I think can look like they're popping their heads out of the water to see what's going on. And so I've got these 3 guys from the Sublime stamp set, and I'm going to stamp them in jet black ink from Lawnfawn, and this is Copic friendly. And I'll use Copic markers today, stamp these guys down, and clean off my stamps with my stamp chamois. And then here is the R32, starting with our little lobster here. I'm gonna just figure out where I want those shadows. Not gonna be too worried about this today as far as getting his shadows in the right places. Just want to show contrast and round out his body with those shadows. And so this is an R35. I decided that I would like to shade him darker with some purples. So this is a V04, but decided to go darker with a V09 and get into all those dark recesses of his body. And then blend that out with the R's, the reds. So I'll start blending that with the R35 and then blend that further out into his body with the R32. I kind of like leaving that white on his body, but I went ahead and colored them all in. I think that's a neat style and one that I like to use, but I don't use it a whole lot. All right, here I am filling them all in with that R32, and then we'll move right on over to our eel. I had to look up eels. I wasn't sure what colors to go with here. And there are a lot of different colored eels, and I decided to go with the nice bright yellow one. So the Y13, the YR14, and then the Y15 to blend that out and then soften that or lighten that with the Y13 for the rest of his body. I did leave his, are those fins? I don't know. As there's a little white that I left on those. So coming in with the YR18 and a little bit of yellow as well. I think that I'm going to use the Y15. No, the YR14 to blend that out just a little, but I am keeping some white on him. All right, well, here is our Y13, just to blend that out a little further. And we have a deep sea diver who is colored with those exact same colors. So I'm not going to show him because I'm showing how I'm blending and finding shadows with this eel. But moving on to our fish, he's starting with the Y13, but he's going the opposite way. He's going to go into the greens. So the YG03, I want to give him a scaly texture. So using little dots for that to show those little scales. And then with the YG07, do the same thing and just a little bit darker in the shaded areas. Green him up a little further with the G05, and then I'm going to blend those all together again with that Y13, kind of make it a little more cohesive. But of course, when I blend it all away, I decide I need some darker shadows. So this is the G09 to add that in, and then we call him done. Now stamping out the mermaid and the little deep sea diver. And I'm so thrilled for this little mermaid to be a flip-flop. I mean, there are just so many times where I'd like to do the reverse stamping, but it's a lot of effort for me. So I just say, never mind. I'll change my design. But with these flip-flops, I can be a lot freer in my designs. So I am coloring their skin with an E00, E21, and E23, and then blending that out. And I told you that the deep sea diver was going to be the same as the eel. Oh, there he is. And the mermaid's going to be the same as the lobster. But I thought I'd show her. Now, I am putting an RV52 in between my V and my R, but I don't think I needed to do that. And we'll see if it kind of still stays around after it's all done. But here is the R35, and again, she's got kind of that scaly look, so little dots, and the same with the V04, kind of going down on the tail and up on the top, and then getting her little fins defined there a bit. And then with that V09, really darkening that up. And I decided that the red could be darker too, so I move on to an R37 for those little scaly dots. And the way I kind of blended all of these together was I took that RV52 to bridge the gap and even out the texture there. All right, well, our little Esther Williams, that's that's what I'm calling this lady, this little mermaid. She's gonna have some hair to match her. Unlike Esther Williams, she's going to have hair that matches her little outfit, or perhaps this is just part of her body and not an outfit. I don't know, but her hair is starting with that RV52 and some R32, all the same colors that I used in her body. But there are so many times in her hair that I could have left it there. So I feel like, well, I could have left it here. But I keep going. So we have the V01 and the V04. Every time I put in these lines, I'm still following the same flow of her hair that I do with the initial lines. Just getting darker in the areas that are, I feel, more in the shadow, or clearly define her part or her little sections of hair, I guess. And here I could have left it there, but I didn't. Blending that out with the V04, R35. See, I keep going. I don't know. When is enough enough? Well, I don't. I think it's just a matter of taste, but also a matter of telling yourself to stop. Stop. Blending that all kind of together with that RV52, and I think, well, that's where I should have stopped, but I didn't. So we've got more V04, trying to blend out from that darkest out towards the ends, and that's a good place to stop. Right? Oh no, we need to put in some more red because we put in purple. Now we need to balance it with red. And then blend that together with the RV52. And it just went on and on. So next I will go back to adding some more purple. There's my V09, and I darken up those shadows with that. And then I think I added more red from there, but I'm not going to take you through all those painstaking moments. Well, I have so far. I mean, you've been with me all the way, so now I'm gonna let you go. The struggle is real. The struggle is real. Well, we're adding some glue to her hair now that she's all colored up, and it's been an hour and a half later. Not really, but putting some glue on her body as well, and I'm gonna bring out the Prisma glitter and sparkle her all up. I'm gonna tap some of that glitter off, and I'm sure I will be tapping that off of my cheek for the rest of the day. But taking the coordinating dies and cutting these two out. Now, I waited for her hair to dry first, but here they are all set to go on the card, and time to finish the assembly. I'll prop up the front panel with some foam tape, and I'll make sure that it only goes in places that won't interfere with the swish and pop pull tab. So finding those places, taking off the release paper of that foam tape and putting that tab or that lever where it should go so that I have it all set and put on that front panel. This is a real easy interactive piece to work with. I don't know if it looks that way or not, but it really is a simple one and oh, so much fun. All right, now deciding where these guys are all going to poke out of the water, poke their heads out. And now the resident card critic, aka my husband, said that deep sea diver would not be up on top. I said, well, if you saw a mermaid up there, you would come up too. I mean, he has to come out of the water sometime, right? Now, the best part of this card, in my opinion, is that our little mermaid is going to dive into those waves. So I'm going to add a little bit of adhesive to the acetate stem and position her in a way that I know that she will look like she's diving in. So I'm just test that a little bit. I'm happy with where she is. Decide to put the notch together, the handle, so the little piece that was the inside of the notch is at the front, and I'm just gluing those, folding around the back part, and then I'll use my glue tube and put some glue in both sides and make sure that it is firmly on that lever and just hold that until my glue dries a little bit. I'll add a mini glue dot where I had that adhesive just so that I have something real strong to adhere her onto that little acetate stem and make sure that I've got her where I want her, and then I can cut off the rest of that stem. And now it's time to put on those little details. So a little bit of white gel pen just to show the sleekness or shininess of these wet creatures. And then with that happy birthday sentiment in the middle, I thought it'd be nice to darken that up inside a bit. So I used a BG 45, but ended up using a 49 to get a nice dark contrast between the inside of the words and the white outline. And then also in those splash marks. And then in order to get that off of the white, I just use my colorless blender again to kind of clean that up, keep the whites bright, and here we go. She's making a splash, saying happy birthday. All right, so I'm going to put this whole panel now onto a 3.5 by 8.5 inch card, and this card is all done. So happy birthday to you, make a splash. There she is diving in, and I hope you enjoyed the video today and it encouraged you to maybe use the Swish and Pop pull tab on a Slimline card or create a little mermaid scene using the Mermaid for You flip-flop along with some of the many ocean theme sets from Lawnfawn. Thanks for watching and have a great day. Bye!